that apparently Amare Stoudemire, if he comes back, does not mind going to the bench. He just wants to help the team win. So that's a good thing. There's that.
I actually think that's a good thing. Why don't we start our day with that? When it comes down to Amare coming off the bench, that's something that I thought they should have started doing last year.
Absolutely. I think it's, I can understand why it would be difficult for Amare to accept that, because he was kind of the first star to come to New York, the new era Knicks, and he did kind of get left in the background when they brought in Melo and then Tyson Chandler, two guys who basically do things that he does. And because he was trying to adjust his game to those two, it kind of limited what he was able to do. But the Knicks need him at his best, and if moving him to the bench can help that second unit out. I mean, you see what Andre Blatch is doing with the Nets. I personally think he was probably one of the best acquisitions they could have made. Joe Johnson and everybody else, they get the hype, but Blatch has been averaging decent minutes and decent production off the bench. Pretty sure he had close to 20 points last night and double-digit rebounds in the absence of Humphries and Wallace. So,
well, he's definitely reliable for rebounds and defense.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing about Blatch you can rely on. That's for sure.
And obviously, Amare's a better player than Blatch is right now. So if he could do more than that coming off the bench. For some reason, they don't want to move Jason Kidd to the bench. I mean, he's played well so far. But, that's what I heard was the trade-off, and one of the reasons why they would want to keep him on the bench for right now. But I think it could help the team. Anything depth-wise that could help them out would be a good thing.
Well, I mean, Erich being our Knicks fan in the room, how does that make you excited to hear? Is that something you think that the Knicks should do, or do you think he more should be on the starting lineup?
No, I think him coming off the bench, any way he can help the team. I mean, you just don't want to hear him being a distraction, saying, coming out with negative things to say. I'm just saying positive things. I don't see the Knicks, the fans, anybody having a problem with it. He's a guy who can help you. Your team can't be worse for having him on your team.
That'd be hard to believe.
So, can he do that role? Sure, he can. Does he want it? We'll see.
The one thing I have to wonder, though, is, there's been the big outcry that Amare should accept the bench role right now. And I think a large part is because the Knicks are playing well right now. I really am going to be interested to see what happens. Say the Knicks start, and I'm not, I'm going devil's advocate here, but say the Knicks start slumping and, maybe they're on a stretch where they've lost like 8 of their last 12. And then Amare comes back. Are they still going to want Amare to come off the bench right away, or would they?
I just don't see them going through a stretch like that. I think they're too talented. I think they got too much depth this year. Even though it's older guys, a lot of veteran guys, a lot of savvy guys that can get the job done.
Championship experience.
Yeah.
I think that's the one thing the Knicks added that a lot
I don't
of teams
see them
didn't
hitting
do.
a skid like they've hit in years past. I think this year they're going to be better than what they have.
Well, I mean, the one thing I'll say about the Knicks, by adding a Chandler and a Jason Kidd, they really did give themselves a bunch of championship experience added to their roster. And the mindset of guys that have gone through winning championships, especially veterans such as a Chandler, such as a Jason Kidd, these are guys that not only have an idea of how to handle themselves throughout a season, but they can help the younger guys that haven't gone through the grind of a team that has championship aspirations. The Knicks do not, obviously the Knicks fans are sitting there saying, just win us a playoff series. And they'd be ecstatic with a NBA championship. But you can't tell me the New York Knicks players and Mike Williams, the coach, and that Mike Woodson, sorry. That whole,
I've
crew.
been listening to Boomer and Carton way too much. Every time I hear the name Mike Woodson, the song Tone Loc from Wild Thing by Tone Loc should be playing in the background, because that's what they do on Boomer and Carton. It's hysterical. Go ahead, David. I'm sorry.
But they'll be, these veterans with a championship experience will be able to help the younger guys approach the season or the length of this season with a better mentality, a better attitude, not just, all right, well, we got to just make the playoffs and then see what happens. No, we want home court advantage. No, we want maybe 2 rounds of home court advantage. We want to have one of the best records in the league. You want to do this. You want to, take care of your body this way. Like Jason Kidd with Felton. Jason Kidd could easily teach Felton, like, hey, I've been in the NBA for, 15 years now. I got a couple secrets I could teach you that keep you healthy or keep you energetic throughout the entire year, whatever it might be. But like I was trying to say before, the fans may have a just win a first round attitude, but the players and the coaching staff on this team have a we want to win a championship attitude. And by adding a veterans such as a Jason Kidd, I know Chandler was there last year, but a Tyson Chandler, adding guys that have been there before is not going to do anything but help this team. And I really think that this is a team where if they continue to play the way I've watched them play the games I've watched them go at, this is a team that's going to be there to be dealt with at the end of the year. Do they beat Miami in 7? I don't know. Do they beat the Nets in 7? I don't know. Do they beat anybody in 7? I don't know. I don't know who wins in what in 7 games. What I do know is that this is a team, especially if Amare's coming off the bench, which would give you a second lineup that is second to none to anybody. I mean, let's be serious here. You start Felton or Kidd at point. You have the other one as your backup point. You start J.R. Smith at your 2 guard, or you can have him come off the bench. You can have Amare coming off the bench. You can have the 3-point shooter. I can't remember his name right now. Novak. You can have Novak coming off the bench. They have a lot of guys that you can make a second unit similar to what would be considered by many like a second starting 5. It would actually remind me a lot of what you saw in last year's Chicago Bulls team, where Chicago could almost bring you 2 sets of a starting 5 that could compete with any starting 5 in the NBA. And that, to me, is where the Knicks have an advantage on a lot of teams in the NBA this year.
Well, I will say that I feel the same way about the Nets as well. I feel like their second unit is playing just as well. Amare coming back definitely bridges the gap between the Knicks and the Nets. I will never question the veteran influence on this team. I mean, when you think back to years past when you had terrible influences on younger players like the Stephon Marburys and the Eddie Currys, and you look at this team now and you see guys like Jason Kidd and Tyson Chandler and even Rasheed Wallace. We haven't even mentioned Wallace at all today, and he's been absolutely amazing since he's come back, I thought. I mean, obviously, he's a hothead who can blow up at any moment, but I think so far he's been a great influence on this team coming off the bench. He's been the number 1 big man coming off the bench. Everybody thought that Marcus Camby or Kurt Thomas might be that guy, but Wallace has been the guy outperforming anybody coming off that bench so far. So you can't dispute the veteran influence. I want to see a little more before I feel like these guys are going to hold up through the course of the whole season. Injuries are the great equalizer, unfortunately.
That is the damn. I mean, look, I think me and Erich talked about this earlier this week. I think J. Kidd not being in that game against the Nets could have been a major determining factor.
Absolutely.
I do.
I agree.
And you know, it's a situation where you're going to have that, though, and if they handle it the right way, that's not a bad thing. You don't need to win 82 games.
No, you don't.
You just, yes, you want home court advantage. You want it at least for a round. But the simple fact of the matter is your main goal is get there. And if getting there means you sacrifice maybe 2 rounds of home court for only 1 round of home court, but you walk into the playoffs with a 100% healthy J. Kidd, 100% healthy Wallace, 100% healthy team, then I'd say sacrificing that 1 round worth of home court advantage could be worth it. I mean, to me, basketball is not the same as football where, you go 2+ weeks without playing. It takes a little time to get the rust off. Basketball is a game you can play all day, every day, and it doesn't affect your abilities to go out and play on game day. It's basketball. As long as you're not running up and down the court all day, nonstop, your energy level's high enough to be able to play. You can shoot baskets, though, all day long. It's hard for receivers and quarterbacks to constantly throw passes and have the receivers running full-speed routes and running blah, blah, blah. So I look at this Knicks team. I think the Knicks are pretty damn good. They're going to be bothering people and annoying people for the entire season. Their defense is really where they need to rest their hat at, and if they do that, they have the offensive talent to score points. They really do.